Yes, the whole world is talking about the spat in the Oval Office. Was it a setup? Was it not a setup? Who set up who? Was it Zelensky who set up the others? Was it Trump or Vance who set up Zelensky? Who knows? Rita and James, what did you make of it? What exciting television. Donald Trump was right about that, wasn't he?
Indeed.
Oh, it was exciting television, and I've been just as excited and appalled by some of the so-called analysis in the aftermath. Clear that most of those doing the analysing haven't even bothered to watch the full 53-minute interaction, because it wasn't just the last 5 or 7 minutes. And it wasn't just the 53 minutes, it's everything that has led up to that. And Annalise Nielsen just did a very good bit of analysis on Sky News, and it's one of the rare ones that you see from the Australian media, because it is such surface level, born so much out of ignorance. If you've been paying attention to US politics over the last 4 years, certainly the last 2 years, nothing that happened should surprise you. The US's position, Donald Trump's position on Ukraine, has been clear for years, and the polling in the States backs that up. The American people do not want to fund this war.
Yep, that's
now,
right.
you might say that's not morally correct, we don't agree with that position, that's fine, but that is their position. They don't want to pay for this war. They want Europe to pick up the slack.
But I think you hit a really good point there, Reza. The point is that you can still support Zelensky from a moral point of view. Russia should not have invaded.
Well,
you can talk about the whole background, and that's a separate thing. But James, you know, you don't invade another country, so that's fine. Russia should not have invaded. But there's only 2 ways forward.
Yeah.
One way is you stop the war now, you draw a line, and you stop killing. The other way is one side has to win that war. Well, no one's going to defeat the Russians. You're just not going to do it. Maybe, you never know, in some fantasy novel you could. Alternatively, could the Russians defeat the Ukrainians? Probably. The reality is the war has to stop, and Zelensky was a fool not to take that moment, not to grab that moment and say, this is it, let's finish the war, James.
This was an absolute disaster for Zelensky, and the evidence was the Ukrainian ambassador to the United States was face-palming during the press conference, because the whole conference, Zelensky's sitting there fidgeting. He wants to make a statement. This is Trump's press conference. Let Trump do his thing, but to try to argue your point, and J.D. Vance didn't provoke this. Zelensky provoked it by trying to argue the case in front of everybody. You do that behind closed doors.
And it's interesting you say that, because it's almost like a microcosm of the war. Who provoked who? Who started it?
But
Who said diplomacy first? Who said this first? Who said that first?
They had a deal that was being worked on that was enormously advantageous to Ukraine, and for some crazy reason, Zelensky decided to renegotiate it in front of the world's media in the White House, knowing the positions that Trump and Vance have on this entire issue. It was extraordinary, and I do wonder whether it was calculated or whether it was just him losing his temper. Well, there are those who are saying that
the White House calculated it.
If you watch the full 53 minutes, I don't think any sort of sane person could say that, because he was goading them repeatedly, and Trump was uncharacteristically diplomatic for a good 40, 45 minutes, sort of letting things go. And even J.D. Vance let a lot go through to the keeper until it just got too much. And one thing we've got to talk about is, again, morally, of course, Russia is in the wrong, Putin is in the wrong. They should not be invading a smaller country. They should not be taking advantage of the weakness in the White House at that time to do that. But we've also got to look at the reality that, as you said, Ukraine isn't going to win this war. We know that. So what are the options? And even some of the most ardent pro-Ukraine experts have clearly said there's 3 options. Either you give up and give Putin what he wants. Obviously, no one wants to do that. Or you continue this war, and if you actually want to win it, if you want Ukraine to win it, you've got to commit forces. You've got to commit ground forces. You've got to commit a lot more arms.
As Donald Trump said, you've got to gamble with World War III, because the Russians have nukes.
It's probably going to spark World War III. And really, all those European countries who are coming and posting, tweeting about their support, even our own Prime Minister, are you willing to send troops?